This is my sister. You can all have her. I hear she's very good.
Just looking around here, I can tell you're a genuinely dirty person.
The sportos, motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
That's great psychology. Why don't you just say something bad about my mother?
I love lamp.
Oh yes. Oh, we're live. We are indeed live. I can get everything working. Hold on 1 second. I'm here. Believe that. Believe that. Hi. How are you? Good to see you. Hello. Welcome. I need like a special button to make the music. I'll set that up next. That'll be kind of a special, gotta add that to. I'll figure it out. Hi, what's happening? Oh, Kipton. Okay, so I don't know if you can't tell right now, but this side of my shirt was wet when I started prepping about half hour ago because we just gave all 4 kittens a bath. It was a lesson. Sorry, mic is kind of quiet. Is it? Okay. It looks good. It looks reasonable on my end, but I will bring it up. Hey, check 1, check 2. How y'all doing? All right, everybody, come on. Check 1, check 2. Oh, the mullet is out of control. Can't stop lying. By the way, send me a link for your website when you're at a stage where you're letting people see it. That was my tongue. Oh, for giving the cat a bath. It was good, It was the old Steve Martin joke, right? People think that cats don't like baths or whatever, but it was not a big deal. I gave my cat a bath the other day, and it was fine. It was fun for him. He enjoyed it. It was fine for me. I had a little problem with hair sticking to my tongue, but thanks so much, Brian Harmeyer. Right out of the gate, man. Brian is the first up with the super chats. It is the record that perhaps shall remain unbroken at some point in here. But well, can we start off with the good news? Can we do that part? Can we start off with just some really good news while we have some good news? This is not only with this LGBT ruling, Supreme Court hands liberals a surprise victory, but that mask is only $7.99, and it doesn't look at all like a weird space diaper. I feel much better wearing that kind of. It looks like if Kiss does like futuristic costumes, that would be Gene's codpiece. It's very weird. Scooter, hi. You are next. Thank you. So 2 of the court's Republican appointees joined the court's Democratic appointees to deliver an unexpected 6-3 triumph for LGBT advocates today. LGBT rights advocates triumphed at the Supreme Court Monday, winning a sweeping decision from the justices that protects gay, lesbian, transgender employees from being disciplined, fired, or turned down for a job based on their sexual orientation. You can still be fired for being an asshole. Just saying. I'm not making the follow-up joke. But that has nothing to do with your sexual orientation. 2 of the court's Republican appointees, Neil Gorsuch and John Roberts, joined the court's Democratic appointees to deliver the 6-3 thing. Writing for the court's majority, the conservative Gorsuch embraced arguments that seemed radical to many liberals just a few years ago, that the 1964 Civil Rights Act prohibition on sex discrimination in employment also effectively banned bias based on sexual orientation or gender identity, even though few, if any, members of Congress thought they were going to do that at the time. Decision was a rout for social conservatives and a defeat for President Donald Trump's administration, which had urged the justices to take a narrow view. That's a sweet way of putting it. Thank you, Georgina. Look at that. which urged the justices to take the narrow view. What I want you to do is narrow the view so much that no one can fit through it. Some Trump allies immediately denounced Gorsuch's opinion as a betrayal from the Trump appointee. See, if you're a Trump appointee, you're supposed to just carry the line, not and operate as an operative for the Trump administration on the Supreme Court, not use your conservative ideals to interpret decades, if not hundreds of years of case law involving human rights and whether or not a law put forward by Congress is applicable to everyone, or whether someone is, legally on the downslope from everyone else. That was roundly rejected today. 6-3. How many times have we heard of 5-4 over and over and over again about all kinds of things? And we jumped to 6-3 on this one, which is also, interestingly enough, I think it's a slam at Trump, very specifically because that's also his imaginary height. So there's that. All right. Let's see. A top Trump aide quickly criticized the ruling, but when the president himself was asked about it, he offered a mild response and passed up a chance to try and make political hay out of the court's decree. Yeah, because he knows it's a failing issue, and he also did that. There will be no better LGBT president than Trump. Thank you, Lisa Mia Moore. You're number one as well. That's fantastic. So that and then there was also the one about sanctuary cities, which is very cool. But while the cases ruled on Monday garnered less attention than the showdown 5 years ago that led to the court's landmark decision finding a constitutional right to same-sex marriage, the latest ruling could be more impactful regarding providing millions of LGBT Americans with new workplace rights and ushering in similar legal guarantees of equal treatment in private businesses, schools, and elsewhere. Now, I would simply argue that these are not new workplace rights. They are just new to this group of people. And if you are not in favor of these, of LGBT people being able to have these rights, then I recommend, like the folks that are against this often will do, I recommend you moving somewhere else. Because America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And if you're not brave enough to handle people having freedoms that you disagree with, maybe you're not American. Maybe you're not ready for America. Maybe you're just not up to it. You know what I mean? I think he made a mention of this in the video we're going to watch today, so I won't jump into this clip because it means we have to watch a cartoon or a commercial for Allstate or whatever that is. Let's see. Yet the High Court's edict also seemed far less earth-shaking than the 2015 ruling. No, not necessarily. Explaining the ruling, Gorsuch said Congress may not have intended to ban discrimination against gays, lesbians, and transgender individuals, but that the logic of their protection by the statute was inescapable, which it is. And thank you, Paul, for the super hearts. I appreciate it. Yeah. Overall, let's just say it. Happy Pride Month, everybody. This is... I often struggle with the idiocy of the right wing, going, this is land of freedom, they hate us because of our freedom, it's a freedomy thing. And then if you give freedoms to other people that are enjoyed by a majority of the people in the country already, somehow that's a violation of your freedom, not an expansion of theirs. And apparently that's the kind of freedom we can handle. I've never really gotten the logic. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any. It seems just, kind of like narrow-minded. It's a very narrow-focused. We're trying to narrowly interpret. The idea being is that America is supposed to be this example of freedom and courage and bravery, and every opportunity these idiots seem to, where they're confronted with a test on that other than somebody else's kids going off to fight a war to prove it, they don't seem to give a crap. Like they don't seem to even, they're not able to deal with it at all. Because the bravery of dealing with freedoms in this country is how it may affect your life. how complicated your conversations may be with human beings going forward for a short time while things work out in the social realm. That takes a level of courage and bravery. And I don't know why they're not willing to take it on. It always confuses me. They're like, and especially cleaving to the mantle of freedom, as, in air quotes. And yet at the same time, if somebody else is going to experience the same level of freedoms they have, and this goes back to our argument about why gay people should be allowed to be married in the first place, if you don't think they should have that freedom, then how are you any different than, say, some of the Middle Eastern countries that you hate and despise and think we should carpet bomb or bomb them back to the Stone Age, all that nonsense? I don't get that. Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate it. And thank you, Scooter. It took me 13 years, but I finally got my evangelical hubby to understand the logic. Well, that's great. Sometimes it just takes a while. But ultimately, here's the thing. Well, and the moral argument, and especially for evangelicals and Christians, can we address this real quick? Evangelical Christians always harbor this idea that somehow it's against God, therefore it should be illegal. When A, it's not explicitly mentioned in the Ten Commandments, and B, there are several of the Ten Commandments that are not illegal. And there's a couple of them that are clearly illegal on a bunch of different fronts, but there are applications where people are unevenly charged. If you rob a liquor store, with a squirt gun, pretending it's real, you can get 8 to 10 to 12 years. If you steal the life savings of thousands of elderly people through, scamming them, and a lot of them die prematurely, you'll get 4 years at a golf course, chained-in golf course, which, by the way, maybe 6 if you don't tell them where you hid the money. Well, who wouldn't sit in a golf course-related prison paying no rent if you know you're coming out of jail and picking up $150 million that's waiting for you in a Cayman's Island bank account? It's like old school gangster style stuff. Now, that part has always, the freedom and the application of the laws thing with evangelicals and Christians has always boggled my mind in that regard. But I think the primary thing that I've always felt odd about it is that morality, with rare exception, you have to put killing and theft, for example, in very distinct categories from honor thy father and mother or coveting somebody's ass. Oh, I didn't do it. My sound effects were on the wrong page. That would have been so funny right at that moment, and I totally blew it. Coveting somebody's ass. So, much better. So, when Christians talk about whether or not it should be legal in the country for gay people to get married, for example, because it's a sin against God or something, or God, it's a violation of their religious freedom. Their religious freedom, ends at the tip of their nose. That's what it takes to live in a secular society, even when one of the religions is dominant, and it clearly is. Christianity is the dominant religion in the country by mass. But that also puts more responsibility on Christianity to live up to the standards of the country it's in and be more flexible than other forms of Christianity throughout the world. So when you talk about the sin of a behavior versus its legal response, there are a lot of things, especially what would be considered moral behavior, who you sleep with and when, whether or not you sleep with somebody before you're married or after you're married, all those kind of moral rules, which when you make them part of the law, where you can be jailed in this life for them, the need for morality in the afterlife disappears. And the argument becomes a material one, not a spiritual one. So if I don't steal something because I know I can, but there's a cop right there, I'm not being moral. I'm fearing the ramifications right now. But if I don't steal from a person, whether there's a cop there or not, because I believe it's wrong, and that my God would see it as wrong, and I do not want beyond heaven and hell to be a disappointment in the eyes of the person or being or intelligence or universal pattern of existence that gave rise to me, that I want to be worthwhile during my time on my planet. That's a moral decision. Therefore, in my decision, the legality of it doesn't even factor in. I don't need it to be legal or illegal to steal something because I have this sense of morality. Do you need a God to do that? No, it's another conversation. But we're talking about how evangelicals and Christians, especially in this country, and Catholics, have reacted to the gay marriage debate and gay rights in particular, because they view it as sinful behavior. But my argument would be is, make your case that it's sinful behavior. Say from your church's point of view that this is how you view it and that's not going to change, and I'm totally cool with that if that's your belief system. But you don't get to create legal limits on the moral behaviors of other human beings because it's based on your religious practice. And you also don't get to eliminate the rights of another human being to be safe in this country, doing their job, living their life, experiencing everything that a human being can experience. You do not get to remove any of those rights from them based on inalienable characteristics. That's always been, and if you start, we're back to, Jews excluding golf courses and that kind of stuff. And maybe that's where some of these people live. But that's always been one of the, the big drags on this thing, that if you believe that it's immoral for someone to be gay or lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and to be married to the person of their choice, even if that person shares their gender or shares their sexuality, which is in opposition to what you believe sexuality should be, you have every right to believe that. And you also have every right to preach against that as a moral behavior. And if you become relegated to the dustbin of history because your religious thinking is so out of date, then yeah, join the Quakers and the Whig Party and the Nationalist Socialist Party. You that's up to you. But when you try to make it a law that affects other people who don't share your religious or spiritual or moral beliefs, then you not only limit their lives, which I think should be illegal plainly and simply, and as did, by the way, 2 of the conservative judges on the Supreme Court, but you also chip away at the moral value of the teachings that you're trying to do, because you're trying to basically outsource the morality decision to the material courts of the world. Does that make sense? You guys see where I'm going with this? There you go. So, not only do you attempt to lessen the lives of other people who don't share your beliefs and would be less inclined to do so because of your behavior. Nobody's going to join the church that hates them. Well, people do all the time, but in general, you're not going to grow the crowd that way. And secondly, you're throwing away the argument you may have that you have a Christian moral argument that is beyond this world, or a Catholic moral argument, or a Jewish moral argument, or a Muslim moral argument. And Muslims have to come to terms with this as much as anybody. So these areas where the Abrahamic religions specifically have drawn a line on the one hand, you are welcome to those beliefs, as ridiculous as I may think they are. You are welcome to preach those things in your place of worship because they are based on your deeply held religious beliefs, however ridiculous I may believe them to be. But once you try to take it outside your church, synagogue, mosque, or temple and apply it to people who are not in your religion, then you are antithetical to a secular state, and that's not what America was built to be. And all those people in Portland who pulled down Jefferson's statue today understand that as flawed as that dude was, He's the one who came up with that part. He's the one who was insisting on that part. The seeds of today's LGBT win were born from the words of Thomas Jefferson and the beliefs about it and the aspirational aspect of his life. The irony could not be, it's thicker than a whale omelet right now. So I personally, I think, accept today's explanation by Gorsuch and, as legit as he ever needs to write anything. And do not chip away at the win at all. Just absorb it. Allow it to be. Don't let anybody take that win away from you. And then get about living up to that standard. Applying it to everybody. Both in your relationships and your friendships and who you care about, the causes you support. They don't have to be the same causes I support. They don't even have to be the ones that support this. But if you do it from a legitimate point of view, you're welcome to do so. And this is where the equality aspect of the Constitution and the design by which it is, the ornaments that we've hung on it in terms of amendments and things like the Civil Rights Act over time. That's why the trunk of this tree has been able to hold those things up. It's because it is equally applied. So I'm really excited about this. I'm amazed that everybody is that it's a 6-3 decision, and I don't doubt there'll be some idiot who tries to test case it, but I don't know how much hope they should hold out for trying to push back against this when these are the very people who always go, but freedom. I should have the freedom not to have to marry anybody that I don't want to marry. Like, you don't. This has nothing to do with you. This has to do with the essence of America. This is what makes us awesome. I'm not showing you my boobs just to cut the heaviness of this particular law. I'm not doing it. Although I will say, first of all, one thing. Why don't I just do the show from back here? Like, sometimes, because I have to lean forward and do stuff, I need some sort of like control thing right over here so I can do the show standing up. What do you think? That would be good in general. But shape wise, we're happening. We're happening. Look at that. Room. Look at that. Just kapow. So I've got to start working on my triceps again because they were starting to fail me during the sequester and whatnot. The gathering. So, anyways, there you go. That's as close as here. Wait, hold on. Is it well lit enough? I don't know. There, hang on like that. There you go. Take that, Terry Crews. So, hi. All right. Oh, I will always be showing off my body. Vanity is one of my greatest traits, and it helps me stay fit. So, yeah. This is conversion therapy. Or not, I guess, or the opposite of conversion therapy. But yeah, so, I'll be 51 in September. Your move, America. All right, so let's go on to our video for the day, which is just going to, I just know it's going to be a joy. President Trump is speaking at a round table, on a square table, round table. And are the curtains that brown normally, or is this just to offset the orange of his face? He is underneath the weird headlamp that makes his brain look like the bird's nest soup. You ever had Chinese bird's nest soup? It's not real bird's nest, but the stuff that's in it looks like a bird's nest, so that's what they call it. That's what his head looks like. Right there. So, this is, good times. Ain't we lucky we got
It's
'em.
about great people. We need great people in
And by the way, I think they start off with him talking about cops, of course.
our police departments, and we have mostly great people. I would say that. I would say that with certainty. We have mostly great people. I know so many of them, law enforcement. But we
No, he doesn't. He knows like 15. And he's done nothing but shit on the FBI since day one.
will do better.
I'll bring him down a little bit. Sorry if he's a little loud. That's my fault. I blame me.
Even better. And we're going to try and do it fast. So we're going to have a meeting tomorrow. We're going to have a news conference tomorrow. We have a lot of law enforcement coming in and others. And
And others? What do you mean? Like law enforcement and Trump sycophants who will side with law enforcement no matter what? I got news for you. One of the areas where you can always make real headway, I have some suggestions for the police unions across the country and for the police advocates across the country, of which in many ways I am one. I have family that are, my cousin's a U.S. Marshal. He's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. The stuff he has had to do and witness in the name of saving lives is off the charts. He's been almost run down, with a car. He had a buddy shot in front of him who will have a colostomy bag and has a wrecked, like his internal organs were just torn to pieces right in front of him. It's just by luck of the draw it wasn't him. And again and again, like these dudes who sell straw man guns, they deal with these guys all the time. There was a cop shot in the head at one of the protests here. Not a violent cop, not in the middle of attacking somebody else, just walking, just working. That stuff happens all the time. I would recommend police unions, police advocacy groups, that you slowly but surely, and tap the brakes a little bit right now, but I would suggest starting right now, work on the messaging of it. But in about a month, you need to start insisting that the media shows when cops are killed in the line of duty. Gives it more than just kind of a wink and a nod. So, rather than, oh, this happened and then that's happened and whatever, and then here's video of a car chase. They need to call up the news and go, you're diminishing the death of a human being who lost their lives saving someone else's just to show a house on fire or some nonsense. So they need to start working on that messaging to slowly but surely, so that when things like this happen and you have to go, but most cops are good, and they are, you are making the case based on people's experience knowing that, as opposed to having to take your word for it right after someone else has been killed. If that makes a lot of sense to anybody. That's my first suggestion. And the second one is they do the final calls basically in secret. So when a cop is killed, they do, they basically call their unit, their vehicle, one last time as if to give them a chance to answer, but they're dead already. So they don't answer, and then they sign them off. And it's really incredibly sad if you've ever heard it. So I would suggest that they start making those things public. Make the call public, so you hear how often it happens. The Officer Down memorial page is brutal and will affect your bias about cops. Not just the number of them that have died of COVID as well, helping people. Instead of just going, we got a lot of good people, there's a lot of people, it's got to be a lot of good people, but there's some bad ones, but it's a dumb conversation, and it gets lost every time because it's always dovetailed behind somebody like Chauvin. You need to have the conversation the rest of the time. Don't dig your well before you're thirsty is the rule. Right now, everybody's trying to dig the well while they're dying of thirst. And Tanya says, I like the idea that not to send police for mental health crises. I agree. I think the guy who was killed in Atlanta, although it looks like resisting arrest to me on an extreme level, but at the same time, the guy could have been frightened for his life because of what's in the news. So the news almost plays as much into why this guy who was drunk thought the cops might be killing him. One of the reasons he broke free and got the taser was because they weren't. They didn't have him in a chokehold. Like, there's all kinds of ways that this went left, right, and center. He got shot in the back, but he was also firing over his shoulder. He shot one of the other cops either in the neck, chest, or face with the taser, taking him down. It's a horrible situation. I would argue that if you've got somebody whose car is stopped and they're not moving and they're supposedly sleeping in the drive-thru of a restaurant at that hour, send EMTs. What if the guy had a heart attack? What the hell does this have to do with cops at this point? Because, in a normal world, and this might have been a neighborhood thing, it might have been about the availability of EMTs, it might have been about the cost. That's another conversation to have entirely. But if you have, I'm just saying to anybody who's listening to the sound of my voice, in future, going forward, if you are ever in a situation where there's a car in front of you with a non-responsive person in it that isn't moving, call an ambulance. Request an ambulance. Now, again, I don't know what the lead up to this guy was. He may have ordered the food, gotten his stuff, and then parked in the driveway and wasn't listening and was eating for a bit because he was drunk and then passed out. And then they called the cops because they were like, this dude's just sitting here. And when they got there, he was out. There's a lot of room for wiggle. Like, literally, again, we're in another situation where the video starts right at the worst part, right? Without any of the lead up. But I would say, and even if they do send police also, the EMTs would be first aspect on someone who's non-responsive. And the cheaper part doesn't work, Edward, just because, when he said my sister's house is right over here, could you just, they could have walked him. They could have said, all right, but we're going to accompany you there and make sure that's your sister's house. Can I see some ID? Can we do this or whatever? I can't let you. You're drunk and you fell asleep in your car. What if you'd have done that on the freeway, dude? But I would say, if you're going to call for this, go, we need an ambulance. There's a guy, we think he might have had a heart attack. Don't go, there's a guy sleeping in his car and he's dangerous, and the like, because you don't know, and he didn't threaten somebody, and that's like, he threatened my life, and now he's just sitting in the thing and he won't respond, and da-da-da, please send cops. So the point being is, if you see someone, Tanya, they want a DUI revenue. No. If you're drunk driving, you go to jail. Period. There's no DUI revenue aspect of this at all. We're not going to ease the brakes on drunk driving. That's ridiculous. So, and I saw W. Kamal Bell's thing about this as well. And I understand, and I think he had a very logical point on that. But ultimately, we're all Monday morning quarterbacking this situation. What I would say is there should be more options available to you when you call 911. Or, here's a good idea. How about 811? How about 811? 911 is an emergency. 811 is suspicious vehicle, something like that. Nobody's getting, it's a non-harm number. You know what I mean? Or 111. Just, there's somebody outside. We don't think they're a threat. It might be my son coming home from a party and I don't want to shoot him or whatever. Please send non-armed response. Seems like being shot at with a non-lethal device, taser, is not justification for execution from being shot in the back. Joe, in the video that I saw, he was shooting over his shoulder at someone. He had actually struck one of the cops. Now, I don't know whether or not, and none of us know, if there were two shots in that thing, if they have one and then another one. If he disables a cop in a situation where there's a violent outburst, that cop's life is now in danger. If you fire anything at the cops, they're going to shoot you. Just get used to that idea. And if you want a situation where cops can't fire on someone unless they know exactly what the ramifications are going to be afterwards, then you're just going to have 100 to 150 more dead cops every year. And good luck getting anyone to become a cop, a police officer, become a detective, work their way up, and actually help solve the real crimes that exist. The point is, I don't know that this is on par with what happened to George Floyd. It isn't really the point. The point is, we need more expanded options when it comes to 911. It's weird that 911 is EMT and cops, but that's city's budgetary stuff. And the 911 operators should have, a coded point that they can go to, and in some cases they do, where they can go, this needs a non-armed police response, like a mental health crisis argument would be, or an unconscious person in a car. Because this guy wouldn't have died if these guys weren't wearing tasers and guns. Because when you're reaching for someone's taser and they also have a gun, they're going to operate from the point of, he's taken my non-lethal thing that can lead to my death, so I need to kill him. And that whole thing ratchets up. If you send somebody who's basically the most they've got as a baton to these kind of situations, it can't ratchet up higher than that. And if they need to, they isolate and identify you and call other people in if it does get more violent. Yes, Paul, he failed his DUI test. At least that was on camera. So everybody has a non-emergency number. Everybody has a dial-in non-emergency number. They need a 911 equivalent number. No, we don't. NCIS 2 Doctor Who. We have 911. That's it. So, and I agree with the 999-111 idea. So I would say 911 is for dangerous or deadly or circumstantial violence. Something's happening at this time. We need police officers to come down here and deal with something that is, rape, murder, assault, violent theft, armed robbery, those kind of things. And then you need an 811, which is shoplifting and all the other stuff, loose cigarettes and passing bad 20s. I think it would be good to know or have published just how most 911 calls are dispatched. That would be useful data. I agree, but it would all just matter based on. I mean, there's privacy issues, I suppose, but we have neighborhood stats. Does those cameras work if you live in the country? Yes, they would, yeah. Why can't the world have a global line? Because you're not calling the Chinese or the Brazilians for help when you're in Oklahoma City or in Detroit. You need local dispatch. We're not outsourcing 911 to India like it's a it's a Comcast subscription gone bad. Just saying. All right, here we go.
I've seen what we're doing. I've sent it around. I've asked for suggestions from different groups, in particular the sheriffs, and I've sent it to our Attorney General. And I think, Bill, you've gone to some of your people with it and shown it. I think it's pretty comprehensive. As you know, Congress is also working on it. The Senate's working on something, and the House.
White House briefing canceled. Really? I was looking at the Kayleigh McEnany thing to see if we were going to talk about this, but I guess I'm not now.
Is working on two elements of the House. You have the Republicans and the Democrats, and they're each working on their own. But we can get it done, and we'll get it done, and certainly we can add on to what we do by the work that's being done in the House and in the Senate. If we think it's appropriate, maybe they can get something passed, and maybe they can't, but we will get.
Well, I feel like I know a lot more. How many words was that to say maybe something will happen, maybe it won't?
It passed.
Sounds like leadership to me. Smells like leadership in the morning.
And it's got to be passed by one person, and the person's me, so we're going to be signing it tomorrow, and we'll have a news conference at some point in the day at the Rose Garden or maybe in front of the White House at a different location that you know.
Believe that.
very well the steps.
The steps, a place you know very well, the steps. You know, the steps that are on the White House thing, there's some steps. As long as there's not a ramp, I guess.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
What's the overall goal? Let's go. Let's go.
Apparently, maybe not.
Guys.
What's the overall goal of the executive order and all of these reforms?
So the overall goal is we want law and order, and we want it done fairly, justly. We want it done safely.
Fairly justly? Fair and justly? Just fairly? Fairly justly? You know, I want a fair amount of justice. You know? Like, I'm not nuts, I'm fairly balanced, is the idea?
But we want law and order. This is about law and order, but it's about justice also, and it's about safety. So I think we're going to do a good job tomorrow. I think you're going to see.
Really? You do? What do you mean, do a good job tomorrow? You're going to sign something.
Some things that a lot of people thought would not happen. You wouldn't be able to get them done, but we'll get them done.
Like what?
Again, though, I want to emphasize it's possible the House can also, on top of this, I spoke to the various leaders, on top of this can get something. But I think this will be very comprehensive tomorrow, so you'll see something. Yeah, please.
What do you think of the Atlanta shooting video that you've seen versus George Floyd?
I thought it was a terrible, I'm not going to compare things, but I thought it was a terrible situation. I studied it closely.
Watch for the generic language again. What'd I tell you guys?
I'm going to get some reports done today, very strong reports, and we'll have a little more to say about it tomorrow. But certainly it was to me, it was very disturbing.
Mr. President.
Yeah, it's disturbing to watch a man shot. Does that mean you're disturbed because the guy got fired and the police chief quit?
Go ahead, please.
Do you have any reaction to the Supreme Court decisions earlier today about LGBT discrimination, saying that is protected under the Civil Rights Act?
No, they've ruled. I've read the decision, and some people.
Bullshit. There is no way he read the decision.
We're surprised, but they've ruled, and we live with their decision. That's what it's all about. We live with the decision of the Supreme Court. Very powerful decision, actually. But they have so ruled.
They have so ruled.
Guilty. Jor-El, you have violated the rules of our crypto. You are so judged.
Please, go ahead.
Mr. President.
Please, go ahead. They have so ruled. And thus I did speak it.
Can you react to the FDA's decision today to withdraw its recommendation for hydrochloroquine and another malaria drug, saying it's no longer considered reasonable as...
Well, I'm now taking it in suppository form, and I think there's nothing that could...
useful treatment for COVID.
I don't know. I'd like to ask Alex.
I don't know. Let me ask Alex. Why would you ask him? He doesn't know anything.
Maybe to discuss that.
Sure. So just to clarify, your statement there, I don't think was quite accurate in what the
Oh, really? Were they? Oh, they weren't quite accurate.
FDA's action was the FDA, at the request of BARDA, which is an agency within HHS, withdrew an emergency use authorization for product that we had acquired into the national stockpile by donation from Bayer of chloroquine. That was manufactured in Pakistan, and the EUA, the emergency use authorization, was restricted for hospital use, inpatient hospital use of the.
So you're saying that the using it in giant pools of people at the Ozarks that's right out.
Product, with the FDA finding that they don't see enough data to support hospital-based use for those who are the most extreme cases of patients who've been hospitalized.
Yeah, because if it does do anything, it kills them.
They took that restriction off. They took the emergency use authorization off.
By the way, don't forget to give a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time here, hello, hi, welcome, thank you.
At this point, hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine are just like any other approved drug in the United States.
Nah, not so much.
They may be used in hospital. They may be used in outpatient. They may be used at home. All subject to a doctor's prescription. In fact, the FDA's removal of the emergency use authorization
You can eat them on a train. You can eat them down the drain. You can take them with a man, you can take them in the can. I don't think they're suppositories.
Away what had been a significant misunderstanding by many that had made people think that somehow it could only be used in a hospital setting, and we've tried to make that clear throughout.
No. If you want to take it, if you want, there's going to be a huge line of people taking doses of hydroxychloroquine at the Trump rally. You bet your ass. Please, somebody, please videotape that horse shit, because it's going to happen.
Drug, it's approved in the United States, has been for decades. If a doctor wishes to prescribe it, working with the patient, they may prescribe it for any purpose that they wish to do so.
Yes, no matter what it's for, a doctor can prescribe it for anything. So, might kill you, Dave, and it won't do shit against COVID-19, but it might put a little lead in your pencil. Really? Yeah, probably not. Take it.
This actually removes a potential barrier to that.
So it actually...
It's actually better. So much better. Oh, thanks. Just another manic... I think you might have filled the tip jar with that one, Templeton. By the way, we'll be talking BMI and workout stuff very soon. You gave me an idea for a show, so we're going to do that.
It complicates it.
It does.
In a way. And I think that's probably your question was very...
It complicates it? You mean as complicated as people thinking they should take this drug or ask their doctor about it, like it's the purple pill in an ad during the Super Bowl?
Accurately.
Ask your doctor about hydroxychloroquine. If he says no, he's probably a Democrat and probably just got his coffee.
Stated question.
I didn't mean to pose it inaccurately. I believe what it said specifically was that it's no longer reasonable to consider it an appropriate treatment.
Only in the hospital, it said the data in the hospital setting was not supportive. We continue to study in outpatient settings as well as...
Yeah, we're going to keep studying it in people that don't ever require hospitalization. We're going to take it as a win. Thank you, Paul. We're going to take it as a win if people who never would have been in the hospital in the first place take it and never end up in the hospital. This is the stupidest... Dude, then apple pie is a cure for COVID.
Preventive. That data is not yet in.
Are you suggesting that the data in the hospital setting is not something you would take seriously?
No, that's why the FDA acted, was that they looked at the
Oh, that's why it happened now.
And they removed the emergency use authorization for hospital setting use of the chloroquine that was the Bayer product that had been donated from Pakistan.
Oh, so it's Bayer's problem. Bayer, by the way, the company that created heroin, if you didn't know that, from opium. That's right. Heroin was the product name that they came up with for its heroic effects on pain.
Mr. President.
That's true.
Earlier today, you tweeted that you believe that you were being COVID shamed because of your decision to go ahead with the Tulsa rally on Saturday night.
COVID shame. COVID shame. That's a thing now?
The director of the health department in the county and in the city has encouraged you to postpone that, saying they still think that they've got too big a COVID.
I don't care. It's not about me. It's about all the people who want to come, not the ones who would be smart enough to stay away. I don't have any voters who have a shit nickel's worth of sense, so why would they not show up?
Problem for you to pull off a rally like that. Your thoughts on it?
Well, Oklahoma's done very well. I just spoke to the governor. He's very...
No, they haven't. They sure as shit have not done, quote, very well. Are you high?
Excited about it. Governor Stitt, who's
so excited,
done a terrific job. Mike, I think you could
fantastic job.
Maybe speak to this. He's done a great job. Oklahoma's at a very low number. They've done really fantastic work.
No, their number's going up. It looks terrible.
They have a pretty new, magnificent...
Yeah, COVID shaming in a cancel culture. I've been COVID canceled.
Arena, as you probably have heard, and we're getting exact numbers out, but we're either close to or over 1 million people wanting to go. We have a 22,000-seat arena, but I think we're going to...
Yeah, we're a country of 340 million people. It is not surprising that 10% of our entire populace is frigging crazy but can drive a car.
So take the convention hall next door, and that's going to hold 40,000, so we'll have 22,000 plus 40,000, which would mean that we'd have over...
That should, and if we're lucky, it will spread throughout that entire group like 28 weeks later, the sequel.
and which was better. Some people said, a lot of people said before that, and it should, if we give it enough time between now and election time, kill off at least a third of my voters.
100,000 people that won't be able to go, but hopefully they'll be watching. But it's an amazing. Nobody's ever heard of numbers like this. I think we're going to have a great time. We're going to talk about our nation. We're going to talk about where we're going, where we've come from. And I can tell you on COVID or coronavirus or whatever you want to call it.
Call it COVID-19. Can you just pick one? I don't know why, but whatever you want to call it. I call it the plague. It's a scourge.
Plenty of names.
I call it the plague that blew in from China. I give it 10 different names, so it sounds like instead of one giant 100%, it's a bunch of 10%, and those I can kick their ass.
Tremendous progress is being made. I spoke with the governor of Texas, where they've done a fantastic job, and he said,
fantastic job.
They have had some outbreaks in prisons, and that's where their numbers went out, and the numbers change a little bit because of the prison population, but he's got it in great shape. Texas, Florida's doing very well. Georgia's doing very well. We have tremendous numbers. We have hot spots, as I said, you might, and we take.
But you can't make an omelet without ordering it from room service.
Care of the hot spots. But many of the governors have done a very good job. Some not as good as others, some very good. But Oklahoma's.
Did you hear that? That was super clear. I totally gathered that. Some not as good, but others better than others.
And a place that I think one of the reasons we chose it is because of how well because it's early. It's very early. And
very early? What, early and how many cases they're going to get? Are you nuts? No, you can't call me right now. I'm doing something.
Because of what a great job the governor and everybody else has done in Oklahoma. And we expect to have, it's like a record-setting crowd. We've never had an empty seat, and we certainly won't in Oklahoma. Mike, you want to talk about how well Oklahoma's done relative to other places?
Yeah, tell us, Mike. Well, thank you, Mr. President. And no one does better than someone who's sitting right next to you. Just the turgidity, the flow, by the way, keep your arms crossed so no one can tell what's going on with your arms.
Certainly, Mr. President. The President and I have both spoken to Governor Kevin Stitt in the last several days. Even earlier today, and Oklahoma has really been in the forefront of.
The wind has been sweeping down the plain.
Of our efforts to slow the spread and in a very real sense.
Why do you have a weird smile when you said slow the spread and did like that weird butt rub thing that he does? Slow the spread.
They flattened the curve, and today their hospital capacity is abundant.
Yeah, they'll have plenty. You bring 100,000 people in there, spread it around a little bit. They got plenty of beds for these people to die in.
Number of cases in Oklahoma has declined precipitously, and
no, it hasn't. There's not. What? What the? Hold on. Give me a second. This is ridiculous. Let me, if I may. Oklahoma COVID-19 cases. That was all caps. Lovely. Okay. All right. Here you go. Oklahoma State Department of Health. Let's just scroll down, shall we? This is from theirs. This isn't me cherry picking some case. Oh, there you go. Come on, guys. If this isn't a precipitous drop, plateaued deaths, plateaued hospitalizations, chugging right along, cases going up. So if these guys are, and they're going up, they got a much lower rate. That's hospitalized. These are deaths. Just chugging right along in this tiny little state. And this isn't per capita. This is their singular number. Right, there you go. There's these cases. There you go. Running total of the reported to date recovers. And it's yeah. And then all these people, that gap right there between that number and that number, that's this. This is the ever hospitalized. A bunch of those people are still on ventilators. And those are the dead ones. But tell me again how they've flattened the curve of their infections. Jesus Christ.
I feel very confident going forward.
Yeah, you won't be there, though.
And with the rally this coming weekend, we're working closely with the governor.
I'm hoping that the president catches it and I can squeak in there at the election and maybe pull something out.
We'll have measures in place to be screening people coming in to the facilities.
It's in Tulsa, I think.
But Oklahoma's really led the way in demonstrating that we can safely reopen. And so as we gather to hear from the president and hear about the stakes in this election, we'll also be celebrating a state that's demonstrated every day that you can put health first and open up and do all those things at the same time.
And Mike, you gave me a number before nationwide. Overall, how are we doing?
Well, it's
thanks, Melinda.
Really remarkable, Mr. President, with more than 22 million tests having been performed across the country. We continue to see overall that the what's called the positive test rate remains very stable in the country. As we said earlier, Mr. President, there's a few states where the positivity rate is climbing, and we're working.
That's right. And so why, if the big states that had it early, their cases are going down, the reason you have a plateau is because there is at the same time, these two numbers are crisscrossing, creating a generalized plateau. Because the low population states are going up like crazy, and the high population states are taking a low arc down. And the volume of human beings in there creates a long-term plateau. That's why we have never left the first wave, and there's no second wave. This is just a long, slow flood.
Very closely with those governors to identify that. You mentioned in the state of Texas, there was one county where there were literally 3 prisons that had individual outbreaks. That accounted for literally hundreds of new cases in a single.
So just 3 outbreaks, there were hundreds of new cases in these prisons. So what do you think a mall's going to be like?
Day. We're also seeing in Imperial County, California.
Because none of the people in the prison, like the only ones that leave are the guards. Everybody in a mall can come and go as they please.
People who Americans who may live on the opposite side of the border in Mexico coming home, and that's showing up in some of their numbers. But
oh, they're catching it in Mexico. There's these people from Mexico. They're bringing COVID. They're rapists, and some of them are, I would say, Democrats who got us coffee.
Overall, the American people, I think, are to be commended, Mr. President, that because of the steps they've taken and continue to take, we're demonstrating that we can safely reopen. And where we saw coronavirus positive cases 6 weeks ago, over 30,000. Now it's averaged in recent weeks roughly 20,000 new cases a day.
20,000 new cases a day. We had 15 original cases, and we now have 118 plus thousand dead people from 15 cases. You're getting 20,000 cases a day, and it's summer.
As I said, the positivity rate remains flat. Hospitalizations for coronavirus are declining.
No, they're not. Hospitalizations are rising in Oklahoma. Deaths are flat because they're just chugging right along.
Over the country. And most importantly, our fatality rate continues over a 7-day average to continue to decline.
Yeah, because the big cities are getting a handle on it, and the lesser populated red states are having more cases.
And it's always quick to say one loss of life is too many.
But we throw that in there as garbage, and then we, pretend we give a shit.
But when we think about a matter of a month and a half ago, when we were losing 2,500 Americans a day, now that we see the numbers declining so precipitously.
Oh, do we now? No. We've just steadied it out at about 1,000.
I think it's a real tribute to our healthcare workers, tribute to every American that has demonstrated each and every day that we can reopen our country but we can continue to put the health, particularly of our most vulnerable, first.
And yesterday's number was approximately what?
According to some public reporting, Mr. President, I'll have more details later this afternoon, less than 400 fatalities yesterday all across the country.
So that's a far cry from what it was a month ago or two.
Because the big ones got a hold of it. Let's see. Let's see what that number really looks like, shall we? Shall we try this? And is he counting just like in the morning? And he thinks it's 24 hours because it's the beginning of that day? Bullshit. Hold on one second. U.S. COVID-19. Okay, so the CDC, let's see, cases by deaths, cases by county, new cases 20,000, view data, let's see, cases, there we go, cases by age, cases by race, cases of death, deaths among, okay, cases, 77,528 healthcare professionals have gotten it. 415 have died. We've lost 415 doctors and nurses in 2 months. 415 doctors and nurses have died from this in 2 months.
Months ago, and it's a lot. It's 400 people. Too much. Shouldn't have happened at all. China.
Game over, China.
Should not have let it happen. But it happened. All over the world, it's happened.
Thank you, Jenny, because I hate everything right now. Well, if hate can make you donate to the show, I suppose I'm for it, but just this once. Normally, I'm for much more cheery emotions. That's why I'm a comedian. Yes, and for those of you who say that I have no business talking about these things, because who the hell am I would like to remind you, Zoltan! I was Zoltan. So,
which is
I've been in an elevator with Spider-Man. Have you? No. I made bionic children. You? I married someone who was HIV positive on television. Have you? No. So, there you go.
a sad thing, but our number is really the low water mark, and it's getting better, and it'll end up being gone. We're making very good headway with.
It'll end up being gone.
Respect to vaccines, Alex, so we're making very good headway therapeutically and a cure-wise. Really, I think really tremendous headway. I've seen the results. I've met with some of the people that do the work, smart people, great people, people that have succeeded before. I think vaccines are coming along far in advance of what they thought they would be. And I think we'll have some very good news for you on vaccine.
Can we? Yes, that's true. I was married to a black woman and had a black stepson. I got my bases covered, people. You don't think I choose what I'm doing? You don't think the roles I take matter to me? Look back.
And therapeutics and cures, frankly, because I guess, if you look at therapeutics, if it acts fast enough, I guess you call it a cure, wouldn't you say?
Oh, see. So that's his defining what he means by cure versus therapeutic.
So I think we're going to have some very good news on that. But we're at a low mark, and
no, I have not broken my collarbone bone training a barrel horse. I've never broken. I was about to say I've never broken a collarbone, but I've never broken a collarbone of my own.
Some of them, like in Texas, where you had a.
Oh, do we have is Murphy out there? Hi, Murph. Are you dealing with this okay? The kittens are around and it's driving him crazy. He just feels like isolated and broken down, the poor thing. Murph, you good? You can hide back there for a little bit. I'll say hi to you in a little bit. Yeah. You're meowing. It's Murphy. We have 4 kittens in the bathroom. Oh, Rebecca, thank you so much. Thank you for being you. The kittens, I know, Murph. Kittens have been in the room. I got a new stool. Yeah, hi, buddy. I know. Hello. Yeah? What's going on? You want to say hi to everybody? Can we say hi? You want to? Okay, you don't have to if you don't want to. I know, it's a lot. There's just all these kittens around, and they're taking up your space, and you're feeling all alone. Why is that? Why are you having a problem, Murphy? We love you. We love you. You're the best. You're the best. You're the best kitty. Yeah, you are. I think so. All right. Okay. You can get down if you want to, but I'm just trying to, yeah, just hang out. Okay. Poor thing. I know you're freaking out.
Population that was
It's hot in here. I know. Especially if you got a lot of fur.
that went
No, thank you, Krista.
heavy, and now it's controlled. So
It went heavy and now it's controlled. Are we? Did I miss something while I was petting Murph? Did we start talking about his waistline?
we understand the
No, he said it's controlled. I'm sorry, my bad.
disease. We've learned. I was with the governor of New Jersey the other night.
Really?
Isn't it romantic? The games we used to play.
And we had a great talk about economic development, and we're
Pillow talk, really.
be doing a big bridge that they've been looking for, I guess he said since 1918 they've been looking to redo it. So that's a long time. But and
No one's been able to build a bridge since 1918. Oh my God. All they have to do you don't realize how easy you are to play? Nobody's been able to get this done. It says right here this bridge was built 2 years ago. Yeah, but we need a new one. And nobody's, we've needed a new one since 1845.
we've agreed to do that. It's about $900 million. But he had mentioned 2,500 deaths.
$900 million for a bridge in New Jersey that hasn't been working since the Spanish flu. Maybe it was the cause of it. That didn't seem smart.
Or 12,500 deaths. 12,500 deaths, and out of that, there was one death under 18. I said, say it again.
One death under 18. So okay. So we're just skipping past the people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s who've been having ischemic strokes and all that other stuff?
It was over 12,000. I guess the exact number was 12,500. And they did
the exact number. And I think he farted. I don't know. Let's roll it back. Let's go to the tape. It's entirely possible. Listen carefully.
And we've agreed to do that. It's about $900 million. But he had mentioned 2,500 deaths or 12,500 deaths. 12,500 deaths, and out of that, there was one death under 18. I said, say it again. So it was over 12,000. I guess the exact number was 12,500. And
you just leaned one out. Oh, another one.
They did the study from
You just farted twice.
that point, and out of that,
I had my hands up. Wasn't me.
one death was under the age of 18, which is pretty amazing. I knew it was, which tells me the
What tells you what? That if you're over 18, you might be one of the 12,000 dead people.
schools hopefully are going to be back in the fall. They're going to be back in full blast. But
full blast.
The young people have very strong immune systems. I imagine that's the reason.
Yeah, but they can carry it, dipshit. There was one hospitalization, one death. There were multiple hospitalizations. There was one death under the age of 18. So people under the age of 18 are not immune. So what's the case around that kid? What was his problem?
But they've...
Thank you, Cat Cookie. Hello, welcome. Aha. Who's that pudding in the picture? We have an orange kitten. Super adorable. We're calling him Hobbs.
out of this at a level that's really inconceivable. By the way, the regular flu, other flus, other things, SARS or H1N1, any of them, if you look at the young people, they were affected like everybody else. But for whatever reason, with respect to COVID, the numbers are very, very low. So, yeah.
So what are you going to do? Take credit for the fact that this disease doesn't kill some people? What a ridiculous idea. If you look at old people, they're not really getting polio. So, I don't know why. Can you imagine if during polio, they're like, if you're in your 20s, you really don't have to give a shit about this. What if I have a kid and I'm in my 20s? Well, maybe.
Listen.
Mr. President, are you
This is the dumbest, silver lining ever.
sending hydroxychloroquine to Brazil and other countries?
Yeah, we're trying to kill some of their people. We would like to thin the populace there. So we're sending we have a lot of hydroxychloroquine. I ordered 29 million doses, which is precisely 29 million doses more than we needed.
Yes, he's asked for it, and we're sending it.
Because he, wants to kill people?
Well, I can't complain about it. I took it for 2 weeks, and here we are. And we've had some great studies.
Yeah, prove it.
I didn't know about the report that Jeff asked about, or the statement, but we've had some great reports coming out of France, coming out of Spain, coming out of other places. The only place we don't get necessarily reports are coming out of Alex's agency or wherever they come from. I don't understand that, Alex. What is it exactly? Because I have had so many people that were
on death's door,
thrilled with the results from hydroxy. So what is that exactly?
Well, at your direction, we continue to study, especially in earlier phase. So
meaning, like, if we give it to asymptomatic people and people who have tested positive but don't have any symptoms, of which the majority of people who get this disease will be, they turn out fine.
Out of the data?
You know what? They'd also turned out fine without it. There are a few that we give it to who would have turned out fine, but their heart stopped. But other than that...
That has come out.
I don't get...
that was more negative was people who were quite ill in the hospital.
People that were, like, seriously ill.
Yeah, which is what you're looking for these extreme drugs for. Like bad, okay, not good.
They weren't going to make it.
Well then, so anybody who died from it wasn't going to make it anyways.
Let's give them a little hydroxy, and then they don't make it, and they say, oh, wow, maybe the president was wrong. All I know is that we've had some tremendous reports. I've had a lot of people tell me.
Anecdotal evidence, that's great. A lot of people also believe that if you stuff a ShamWow up your ass, you never have to use toilet paper again. But, talk to your doctor.
They think it saved their lives. You know the one...
Yeah, there's a lot of people also think that QAnon saved their lives.
Woman who's a fantastic...
There's a bunch of people who've written these letters to him about hydroxychloroquine are the same people who think that John F. Kennedy Jr. was going to land on the Washington Mall and arrest Hillary Clinton and John Podesta during the military parade last year.
Woman, the representative from Detroit, she was fantastic. But there are many people like that say the same thing. So, I don't know, but I took it and I felt good about taking it. I don't know if it had an impact, but it certainly didn't hurt me. I feel good.
Dana.
I feel good. I feel good.
Really? You feel good? You needed a second hand to lift the glass of water to your face and you couldn't walk a ramp yesterday. I'm just saying an ischemic stroke and a heart issue aren't that far off.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
The House.
Yeah. Yep. Dr. Evil. Yeah.
Today they are asking you to reverse your decision on terminating the relationship with the WHO. Would you consider that?
I don't know. I have to see what they're asking. I have no idea what they're asking.
I don't pay attention to the WHO or the World Health Organization or health in the world right now. I have a rally coming up, okay? We have to pick... Well, the songs are the same every time. We have to pick whether it's going to say CAG or MAGA or freedom-loving America again, so we can just have flag or free America again.
After an investigation.
I have no idea what they're asking. But I'll take a look. The World Health Organization has been very disappointing. To the world, they've been disappointing. And we, as you know, paid $450 million.
Oh my God, this is about the tab. He gives a shit more about this than any billionaire I've ever seen.
And close to $500 million on some years. But for years and years, we paid far more than anybody else. And they've been a puppet of China. And so, no, I'm not reconsidering unless they get their act together. And
I love when I see language that comes straight from right-wing YouTube that he uses.
I'm not sure they can at this point, but maybe certainly over the years they might. But they have been a disaster. They were wrong on every call, including when I said we're going to close up the United States to people coming in from China, where China was heavily infected at that time, and possibly still is, and I closed it, and that was a wise decision. There were
Okay, first of all, possibly still is. Can I say for the record, kids, there are cases in Beijing now. The spread has made it to Beijing. So, and if they're admitting that, that means there are a lot more cases than they're saying. So, yeah, it's around.
A lot of people, even on the other side, the enemy, we'll call them the enemy, they said that was an incredible decision. I don't know how Trump made
the enemy. You're just going to call people the people in your administration who supposedly in your weird fantasy land were against that are the enemy now. So Fauci's the enemy is basically what you're saying.
That decision. But he made that decision and we saved thousands of lives, hundreds of thousands of lives. Yeah, go ahead.
If you hadn't done anything, you mean?
President, just on a separate...
How many thousands of lives did the 40 other countries that shut off travel with China save? They did it earlier, so how many did they save? What's that number like?
No.
I apologize.
Mr. President, can you say why you're suing John Bolton to prevent publishing his book?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to ask the Attorney General, but I will say if he's doing a book...
I don't know why I'm suing someone. Is there anything more Trump than that?
I think it's totally inappropriate that he does a book. I think a guy, I gave him a break. He couldn't get Senate confirmed. He was never Senate confirmed the first time. I don't think he's supposed to even be calling himself an ambassador because he couldn't get Senate confirmed. He got in through a little trick, and he was there for a fairly short period of time. I put him here because he couldn't get Senate confirmed. This was a non-Senate confirmed position, as you know. He stayed for a short while, and I felt that it was not appropriate that he stay any longer. I wasn't impressed. And somebody said he went out and wrote a book. If he wrote a book, I can't imagine that he can because that's highly classified information. Even conversations with me, they're highly classified. I told that to the Attorney General before. I will consider every conversation with me as president highly classified. So that would mean that if he wrote a book and if the book gets out, he's broken the law. And I would think that he would have...
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't, especially if you broke the law.
Criminal problems. I hope so. Otherwise, I mean,
Yeah, please try to get him thrown in jail for publishing a book in the United States. And then in the discovery of, in the court, please tell me which part was a lie or illegal or any of that.
A sailor in jail because he sent a photograph of his bed and an engine of an old submarine. And if this guy's writing...
if you don't know anything about metadata, shut up.
Writing things about...
It's not what's in the picture, it's what's in the coding of the picture. But if you gave a crap, you would know that.
Conversations or...
I can't bring up Hallie right now because in this, but I will add her to the next broadcast, I promise. Thank you, Melinda. Hallie will be here for the broadcast tomorrow in the Rose Garden or on the steps or wherever that may be.
Anything, and maybe he's not telling the truth. He's been known not to tell the truth a lot.
Oh yeah, well then it's not a leak if he's lying. Can't sue somebody for lying. You just have to prove that they're lying. So sue him for libel. And then present your real conversations to prove that what he's saying is false.
So we'll have to see what the book is all about. But, a lot of people are upset with him for writing a book. A lot of people are very angry with him for writing a book.
Oh, yeah, are they? They're so upset.
But it's up to the Attorney General. Bill, do you have anything to say about it?
Oh, this should be good.
People who come to work in the government and have access to sensitive information generally sign an agreement that says that
generally,
when they leave government, if they write something that draws on or might reflect some of the information they've had access to, they have to go through a clearance process before they can publish the book. And we don't believe that Bolton went through that process.
You don't believe that he went through that process?
Hasn't completed.
Did he or did he not?
The process, and therefore
he hasn't completed the process, so you guys won't answer him. So he sent the book to get vetted, and your lawyers just stepped on it, right?
Is in violation of that agreement.
No, he's not. No. In that agreement, I'm sure you have a certain amount of time because you can't interfere with someone's right to go to press on a book in a timely manner if you have no real objection. So you have time to give them the objection. But if you don't have any, you're just standing on the manuscript. which is illegal.
So what does the DOJ do?
And that's criminal liability, by the way, you're talking about.
Oh, it's very scary.
You're not talking about like he's got to return $3 that he made on a book. That's called criminal liability. That's
Is it called? It's called criminal liability. It's called.
big thing. You know, Hillary Clinton, she deleted 33,000 emails.
Did she?
And if we
And your own Justice Department found out there was no there.
ever found out what those emails say, she would have had liability.
It's amazing how we can go back over this if you want, but there are three types of ways that you can have an email address, for example, in view of like the State Department or something like that. But in general, most of us, either you can have a government one. I guess we'll add 4. Government one. You can have one through your business. You can have personal, like Yahoo or Gmail or something like that, or iCloud, which is my personal favorite, bookhal@icloud.com. And you can also have a private server that you set up to deal with all your mail. These are basically the 4 ways to do it. David Petraeus and Colin Powell both had Yahoo accounts. Both of them were hacked. And I'm pretty sure like the server that the DNC server and the private RNC server, both of those are private. They were both hacked. He often complains that the DNC server wasn't handed over, which I don't know why that is. Like, you don't ask somebody was mugged. You don't ask them what their PIN number is because you just want to know. Did you really have money? Were you really still like? I'm making the charge. Go find the guy, right? So, and then there's the government one. Now, when you're in government, you have to do any campaign stuff either privately through your campaign server, or you have, or you do your business on the server of the department that you're in. So the idea was that she was doing campaign or personal business on the Secretary of State server in emails talking about risotto recipes when she shouldn't have been, or she was doing business about the Secretary of State's job on her private server, like giving some sort of farcical stand down order during Benghazi, right? That's what they're hunting for. For her, they wanted a smoking gun of her saying stand down somewhere, and it didn't exist. So they created this fantasy. But can we say for the record that of all 4 of those ways that you can have an email either private or through your job, Petraeus and Powell both got hacked when they were on Yahoo. Gmail's been hacked. The State Department got hacked while Hillary was there by Russians. Nobody, I mean nobody, got into Hillary's server. Maybe, just maybe, she knows what she's doing. I mean, you can make up a fantasy about what kind of stuff you think was happening behind the scenes, and you can pretend, but you don't know. And you know why? Because the security on her server was watertight. It was locked down. Because if they'd have gotten into it, all that stuff would have gone. Like, you don't think when Russia, if you're listening, I hope you find. They didn't find hers. They found Podesta's because he was using a different server. They didn't find shit on hers. They were not able to break into her server. Maybe after looking at Petraeus and Powell, she's like, hey, maybe I don't want the emails where I call Mitch McConnell a cretin or Donald Trump a rapist. That my personal feelings about this should not get mixed up with my job as Secretary of State. We ought to keep a tight lid on that stuff unless we're ready to make an accusation.
That's what you have. You have liability.
Could the Attorney General tell us what
you have liability? What, you're going to sue him for?
the DOJ is doing in terms of the Bolton book?
Well, there are a number of things, but the thing that is front and center right now is trying to get them to complete the process, go through the process, and make the necessary deletions of classified information.
But the book has been published.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it's been published. It's just not released yet.
Well, it's being printed.
Yeah, it's being printed, yes. Published. That's the published part. Being sold, that's a whole other different situation. By the way, nice boom shot. Boom, Shadow.
According to sources, it's being printed. It hasn't been.
Yeah, that's the publishing part. That's the last step in the publishing part. Then there's PR and sales. So it's being published. It's being printed. It's not done.
Please.
Please sue him based on something he says. Please try to throw him in jail for something that's in there.
So are you going to court to try to stop him?
Well, I said what we were doing was try to get him to complete the clearance process that's
So that's no.
required.
His lawyer says that he thought that they had completed the process. Were there changes after that first iteration?
Well, he hasn't completed the process.
He never completed the process. He knew that.
This is unprecedented.
There was no process. They didn't put the...
Really, because I don't know of any book that's been published so quickly while...
So quickly, it should have come out last fall.
The office holders are still in government, and it's about very current events and current leaders and current discussions. And
Yeah, because it's crucial. It's weird how they go on the news, and when someone has robbed a bank, they keep talking about their current behavior, not the fact that they were a Boy Scout a long time ago, and maybe or what they might do in the future. The news seems to be really concerned about the current state of affairs, where they're driving in a white Bronco towards the Mexican border.
current policy issues, many of which are inherently classified.
They're inherently, policy issues are inherently classified. No, they're not. Policy issues aren't inherently classified. And by the way, notice he doesn't say classified top secret. Everything in the government is classified somehow. Like, I classify most of what they're saying in this thing as lies and dipshittery. That doesn't mean you can't print it.
I have not read it, no. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
I haven't read it, I haven't seen it, but it's full of lies.
But he knows, and he was...
What about Mary Trump's book that's coming out? You guys hear about that one? So Trump has a niece, Mary Trump. She was the source on the that came out on that story about how her mother and Donald and everything he basically fueled his empire off $435 million of his dad's money that he took. Again, the Trump organization has never had a day of profit in its entire existence. Not one, not ever. Find one. You won't. You will never find, June 3rd of 1994, they finally turned a profit. Not a one. Oh, her dad's Fred the Third. That's right. Thank you, Melinda. So he basically stole from his siblings, and she outed the whole scheme. And they didn't pay taxes on it, and they shuffled a bunch of shit around. And her book's coming out in August.
Not to write it, and he was advised very strongly not to write it until...
Very strongly not to write it.
It's cleared. And...
Don't write it until it's cleared. So don't even start working on the... So we'll clear the book before you come in and tell us what you're going to write, and we'll tell you no. What?
He couldn't wait.
He couldn't wait. Why? Why wouldn't he want to wait? Because he thinks you're engaged in criminal activity and you're going to continue to do so?
And we'll see what happens. But I think he's got, personally, I would imagine he has, when you do classified, that to me is a very strong criminal problem.
When you do classified, that to me is a very strong criminal problem. Gibberish.
And he knows he's got classified information.
Yeah, but his book won't have it because the publisher will make sure that they cleared it and vetted it with their lawyers. But if you're going to stop it midway, you're going to finish the version. Yeah.
Conversation with me is classified. Then it becomes...
Any conversation with you is classified. No, it isn't. And if it is classified, it's not classified top secret. It's not even classified secret. You're talking about executive privilege. And that's, again, a privilege. You can lose privileges, you're grounded. Go to your bunker.
Even worse if he lies about the conversation.
Well, if he lies about the conversation, call it a lie. Tell us what you really said.
Which I understand he might have in some cases. So.
Well, then you can't sue him for lying. You can sue him for libel, and you can prove your case. And I would love to see the discovery.
We'll see what happens. They're in...
Yeah, we will. And again, we'll see what happens.
Court, or they'll soon be in court. But he understands he did not complete a process or anywhere near complete a process.
Yeah, he did. They completed the process, and then you guys hit him again once you found out what was in the book. And you're trying to make him redact more stuff because you're under the impression that every conversation he ever had with you technically is classified top secret. It isn't.
On a separate foreign policy issue, sir, you faced a little bit of criticism from congressional Republicans, including Representative Cheney, about your decision to withdraw troops from Germany. Are you reconsidering that at all?
So we have 52,000 soldiers in Germany. It's a tremendous amount of soldiers. It's a tremendous cost to the United States. And Germany, as you know, is very delinquent in their payments to NATO. And they're
no, they're not
paying 1%, and they're supposed to be at 2%, and the 2% is very low. It should be much more than that. So they're delinquent of billions of dollars, and this is for years delinquent.
So we're now just mercenaries. So we have our soldiers in other countries to get paid, not because we see it as having strategic value. By the way, all 7,200 of those soldiers, according to this president, you serve no worth in Germany.
So we're removing.
You're just there for a paycheck.
We're putting the number down to 25,000 soldiers. We'll see what happens. But Germany has not been making payment. In addition to that, I was the one that brought it up. Everybody talks about Trump with Russia. Well, I brought this up a long time ago. Why is Germany paying Russia billions of dollars for energy, and then we're supposed to protect Germany from Russia? How does?
Because I'll tell you why. Because for years, the Russians were undermining the Ukrainian pipeline until Hunter Biden and his pals scrounged up some money and actually got it functional again. And Europe hasn't had time to shift over from that. It's not fully operational yet, but it's profitable. It's not on the same level as the amount that they can get from Russia currently. Gee.
At work, it doesn't.
Here's a good idea. Dumps more money into Ukraine. Oh, right. Putin wouldn't like that.
Work. So Germany's delinquent. They've been delinquent for years, and they owe NATO billions of dollars.
They call it the juvenile delinquency.
And they have to pay it. So we're protecting Germany, and they're delinquent. That doesn't make sense. So I said,
we're not protecting Germany. That's part of our NATO forces. That's just where they are.
We're going to bring down the soldier count to 25,000 soldiers. It varies. It's around 52,000 now, but it varies. But it's a lot. And as you know, those are well-paid soldiers. They live in Germany. They spend vast amounts of money in Germany.
And we're bringing them home, and we're not going to pay them, and we're going to discharge a bunch of them because of the debt hole he made out of his defense spending.
Where around those bases is very prosperous for Germany. So Germany takes, and then on top of it, they treat us very badly on trade. We have trade with the EU, and Germany being the biggest member, very, very badly on trade, and we're negotiating with them on that. But right now, I'm not satisfied with the deal they want to make. They've cost the United States hundreds of billions of dollars over the years on trade.
No, they haven't. We bought hundreds of billions of dollars worth of stuff from them.
So we get hurt on trade and we get hurt on NATO. Now, with NATO, I've raised other countries $140 billion. They're paying $140 billion more because I interceded. I said, look, we're protecting you. You have to pay your bills.
We're not protecting them. These are our interests.
Because it was going like this until I got here. Now it's gone like a rocket ship.
Like a rocket ship.
But one of the only countries that hasn't agreed to pay what they're supposed to pay is Germany. So I said, until they pay, we're removing our soldiers, a number of our soldiers, by about half. And then when we get down to 25,000, we'll see where we're going. But Germany has been delinquent, and why should we be doing what we're doing?
We're repossessing world security.
They don't pay, and they're supposed to pay. And the number they're supposed to pay, actually, at 2%, the 2% should be higher. And we're also talking about for many years. This isn't a new phenomenon. This is going on for many years where they've taken advantage of the United States. But
have they, or have we been using their positions for our bases because it benefits us?
Everybody has. Under Biden and under Obama, what they've done to this country is unbelievable. And I'm not only talking
I don't believe it.
About Germany, by the way. I'm talking about plenty of other countries. But
yeah, not Germany, just other people. The super chat and it's strongly typed is classified as super powerful, top secret. It went through the process warp speed. Don't tell anyone. I'm sorry, I read it out loud. No, maybe it was. That was a lie. That's not what Rob Glenn's super chat said at all.
NATO now is paying $140 billion more. If you look at the Secretary General, who's terrific, Stoltenberg, he's been terrific. He's probably my biggest fan. He said nobody else could have done what Trump did because I raised the other countries by $140 billion because we end up paying the difference. The United States pays the difference to protect Europe.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with our troops in their country? We're not protecting Germany.
So we protect.
By the way, why are our troops still in Saudi Arabia guarding oil processing plants?
Them, and then they take advantage of us on trade for many, many years. We're not talking about now, less so now, for many years. So we're working on a deal with them, but it's very unfair. And I would say by far the worst abuser is Germany.
Mr. President,
no, it's abuse. That's what it is. It's abuse. He's been abused.
you said last week on Seattle that if the mayor of Seattle, the governor of Washington didn't take
that was just bullshit, Joel.
steps to end the occupation of the Capitol Hill neighborhood, you would step in and you would do something. 100%.
No.
They still haven't ended it.
Oh my God. Ben Carson is asleep.
Negotiating.
Ben is,
are you considering taking action?
You know, they're negotiating garbage removal. These people have taken over a vast part, a major part, a very good part of a place called Seattle.
It's called...
Seattle's big stuff. That's a major city. And we have a governor who's a stiff, and we have a mayor who said...
Because 6 blocks.
Oh, this is going to be a love fest. And by the way, these are violent people that took it over. These are not people that are nice people. I saw on your network today, John. I saw what went on with the hitting and the punching and the beating and all the other things going on in
and the volley and the dodgeball.
Seattle. And you have a governor that doesn't do a damn thing about it. And you have a mayor that doesn't know she's alive. She's talking about it's going to be a love fest this summer. Now, if they don't do the job, I'll do the job. And I've already spoken to the Attorney General about it. But if they don't do...
And he was like, yeah, no, there's nothing really. I mean, we are Republicans. So the whole states' rights thing.
The job, we will do the job.
What can you do?
I know he can get the job, but can he do the job? I am not arguing that with you.
About 10 different things, any one of which will solve the problem quickly.
Okay, give us one.
Can we go through a whole list or a partial list?
We don't have to go through any list. We can do...
Right. There's everything. We could carpet, napalm.
A lot of things. I think it's incredible also that the radical left press doesn't cover it. They're acting like nothing happened. You turn on the news, you look at the news, you don't even see stories about it. If the right ever took over a city...
You mean like the Bundys and that when they took over private or public lands?
Conservative Republicans took over a city, it would be the biggest story in history.
They did.
You can't even find stories about Seattle. It's incredible.
You can't find stories. Oh boy. All right, shall we? Should we look up Seattle Autonomous Zone? Let's see. CNN goes inside Seattle's autonomous zone. Inside Seattle's autonomous zone, no police allowed. Inside the autonomous zone today, that's 2 days ago, that's a day ago, that's 12 hours ago. What's it like inside the autonomous zone? Capitol Hill autonomous zone. There's a whole Wikipedia page. Seattle protesters have occupied part of Capitol Hill since last... All right, fine. So we got that? All right, good. You can't even find stories about it. Every major network.
They've taken over... We'll see. I'll tell you what, the American public is very angered by that.
Am I? I didn't realize. Were you guys angry? I mean, granted, I think the autonomous zone is a joke, and the people who are in it, who are claiming what they're claiming, is garbage and silliness, and there's a lot of creeps in there. But it's not waking me up, in the middle of the night. Kittens are.
Seattle is a major, important city, and
Why? I mean, it's got a Democratic mayor and a Democratic governor, and Google is there. I don't know why you think...
Democrats, I guess you say radical left, but it's not even radical left. It's just Democrat. Where we have our problem are Democrat-run cities. If you look at Minneapolis, if you look at other cities that have had trouble, they're Democrat in virtually every case that I can think of. I can't think of one other case. These are Democrat-run cities. Minneapolis, where police are told to run for your lives. Don't do anything. And if I didn't get involved and send in the National Guard,
The Floyd family stopped all the violence, you creep.
and it was at my insistence that they.
It was Terrence Floyd coming out and saying this is against what his brother believed, and you do not honor his memory by doing any damage, and it dried up the same night.
And as soon as I did that, everything stopped in Minneapolis. 4 days, 5 days later.
Timeline that you're thinking
Everything stopped 4 days, 5 days later.
here in Seattle?
There's no timeline. We're watching it very closely. These are violent people that are dealing violently, and I think what I'd like to see.
So they're violent, is what you're saying.
Before we do something, I'd like to see the press get in and cover it, because it's not that they're covering it badly, they're hardly covering it at all. Think of this. A group, Antifa and others, radical lefts, they went into a major U.S. city, Seattle, and they took over a big percentage of that city, and the press doesn't want to cover it. And we have a mayor who's scared stiff. She doesn't know what's happening.
We're going to repeat this story again.
We have a governor that's one of the most overrated politicians in the country. He just ran for president. He got less than 1%.
Well, granted, he was running against like 28 people, and the RNC stopped anybody from running against you.
He actually probably, I would have said less than
For fear that they would actually beat you in real primaries.
0, but I'm not sure that's possible. He got nothing. He got no votes, nothing. And the whole thing, the guy was out there fighting. At the end, he got 0, right? 0.
What was he fighting for? What was his big issue? Climate change. He wanted to get that on the map. He wanted us to have a debate about it. He specifically cared about that. He wanted to make sure it was an integral part of the conversation and the debates. He succeeded.
So he failed, and now
he succeeded.
He goes back, and they take over a city.
And he's the governor of Washington State.
He doesn't say anything about it. Worse, he said he didn't hear it. A day later, he said, I didn't hear anything about it. They took over a city, Seattle, and he said,
yeah, they took over the city. Now where are we going to get the new Pearl Jam record from?
I didn't hear anything about it. So look, the governor has to call out the troops, do what he has to do, has to call out the National Guard, has to do something. Because, you know, the problem with what happened in Seattle is it spreads. And all of a sudden they'll say, let's do some other city.
Oh, no, Tacoma's next. Waukesha. What if they get Waukesha?
And
I don't even know if that's a real Washington. It just sounds Walla Walla. What happens if they take over Walla Walla?
Let's do another one. And we're not going to let it happen. So timing-wise, hey, we're all set to go. We're watching the process.
That's in Wisconsin, yeah.
But the most amazing thing about the process is how the fake news media doesn't want to cover it. To me, that's the most amazing thing. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
It's the second time he's kicked everybody out. Right. Ben Carson is just a lightning rod right there.
Saturday night will be a big night. That's a big night. I hope you're all going to be there. It's going to be great.
Yeah, Saturday night is going to be insanity. Yeah, here we go. Let's go back into the Seattle Autonomous Zone. King 5, that's the actual local news. CNN went inside, talked to everybody. Today's Show did a whole thing on it. The Hill, Trump excoriates Inslee, Seattle mayor over autonomous zone. That's a story about it. Protesters have occupied part of Seattle's Capitol Hill for a week. Here's what it's about. Let's all take a look, shall we? Can we all just jump in and see what Seattle has to say? Oh, this chick is amazing. I'm here as a part of Wiccan Whiteheart beliefs. Okay, hold on. But we had to be sold sandy shoes first. Go away. Don't want that. I don't. It's taking up too much of the screen, isn't it? There you go, barricades and street. Oh, that was much better than the yellow painted one. You can almost make out all the letters. They've called the area Chaz or Chop. Meaning what? Let's see. Black Lives Matter was written on the road as a capital. Some people in the zone openly carried firearms, which is allowed in the state of Washington. Uh-oh. How will the right feel about that? It's only a couple little bullets in this gun right here. Raz Simone, a protester, told CNN of the gun holster on his hip. This is not for the police. I'm an American citizen, and war is not with the police. It's with the system and accountability, lack of accountability. But no, this is just for protection. So he's going to shoot the system right in the butt. Some worry that the spectacle could detract from the message of Black Lives Matter. Some attendees have also called the Chaz a tourist attraction. Yeah, it's a pretty lily-white gathering. Zone also draws some people who may disagree with the protesters. You think? You mean the rapists? Some of them are good people, I'm sure. You mean the people, the protesters? No, I mean the rapists. Get out of here. One man who preached repent now message drew criticism, but organizers urged them to ignore him. Oh, it was like one of these Christian corner dudes. Despite small flare-ups between the larger group and those with opposing views, things have been mostly peaceful, according to many of the people who spoke to CNN. This is the most beautiful thing in the world. It's so hopeful. I've been to a lot of festivals around the world, and what I see is just something very similar. Yeah, exactly. It's basically like Seattle's Bonnaroo. Love and giving and a self-organizing policing and just a lot of good vibes, rainbows. Jesus, Seattle, I love you. It's just so, like, wow, man. This is great. And the all-black outfit that she's wearing is spectacular. Let's see what they have to say. A little bit of this. There's gonna be a commercial at the beginning of it. I can just tell you. So we'll loading. We don't know.
So this is what it looks.
Okay. Virus, the same is true of misinformation. It's an ad about like COVID.
Violence or
CNN's their own ad.
anything against.
Okay.
So this is what it looks like when you enter Chaz. You see some of this street graffiti behind me. There might be a security person here asking a few questions or just trying to make sure that you're not somebody who's going to stir up trouble.
We're just making sure
Yeah, well, how do you have any right to ask me where I'm going in America?
that there's no violence or anything against people of color.
What if I'm... Oh, as long as you're there to hurt white people, it's okay, though? So you're allowed to beat him up.
Here.
Then you walk 200 or 300 feet, and then you're in the heart of the zone. This is the main
The heart of the zone, bruh.
point of the occupation zone. The police precinct behind me. People have put up messages, they've made signs, and a lot of folks are just coming by and taking in the site. How would you describe Chaz in the occupation?
Oh, it's good. It's a lot of people out here, unity, little trying to get this equality thing going, and it's very peaceful out here.
One of the more remarkable things about the occupation is
the food trucks.
The infrastructure. They are incredibly well stocked for the long haul.
See all those plastic bags with cards in it? Those are all individual donor cards. So like most of this stuff just comes one bag of groceries at a time from folks in the community who want to help take care of each other. Yeah, we have like so much stuff.
Dude, we have so much granola, bro.
We can't get enough people to take it right now.
A lot of
nobody wants a granola, man. I'm like gluten. I have gluten issues, man. And it's just, there aren't enough toilets for this much fiber.
people are on this field. They might be relaxing or having a picnic. You can see this meditation society behind me.
Oh, great. It's about, so it's a cult. Great.
Does it really look like?
When are they going to get their own land? And what time does the comet come? And where do I hang my balls and my shoes?
Like the picture of anarchy. What are your immediate impressions?
I like cows. I've always liked cows. It's just a cow thing. I like cows. They're sweet. Whatever.
It seems like it's a great way to demonstrate what's happening, and this is a very revolutionary time in our history, and I think my kids need to see it, and it seems peaceful and under control.
It's a good vibe. It's a good vibe. I mean, we got a million people here that got different opinions. It's not a million, but everybody got a different opinion. So yeah, we're gonna hear some screaming and yelling, but it's only their opinion.
We've seen a lot of different groups hold various events here. This is a group of Native Americans behind me doing a drum ceremony.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and go. A bunch of these folks right around the edge aren't, but okay. Well, they can join in. That's fine. Hold on. Whoops.
Now, is everything Pollyannish here? Obviously not. We have seen some tempers flare, especially when somebody tries to interrupt a speaker. and some folks are openly carrying weapons. Remember, Washington is an open carry state.
There's only a couple little bullets in this guy right here. It's, you know what I mean? This is not for the police. I'm an American citizen, and my war is not with the police. It's with the system and the accountability, the lack of accountability. But no, this is just for protection.
What do you think of Chaz?
This is the most beautiful thing. It's so hopeful. I've been at a lot of festivals around the world, and what I see is just something very similar, like love and giving and self-organized policing and
I love this guy, but somebody needs to get him some edibles and a giant bottle of water. Please.
And yeah, just a lot of good vibes, rainbows, you know, and it's really hopeful for me.
Okay. That's adorable. That's so funny. My God. So, good stuff. You guys are wonderful. Hold on. Let me get back to, I've got to transition this one over so I can find the other thing and get into commentary. No, I want this one. So I can talk to you guys. There we go. Now you're up. Now your chat's going to start. Oh, there's going to be a bunch of babies out of this. Absolutely. Bunch of like sidewalk tent babies. This is ridiculous. They look scary. That guy so is Seattle. Yeah, it's just caffeinated Portland. Yeah. Although caffeine, mainly Seattle and Portland take so much caffeine as an antidepressant. Otherwise, they'd barely be able to get off the couch. I want to adopt him. He's available. That guy's available for adoption, but he's got a very specific diet. I'm going to assume. Patreons assemble. Yeah, thank you, patrons, by the way. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks if you want to support the show, support the stream, support all this stuff. You can also do it by super chatting. You can also PayPal.me/Hal Sparks. I mean, come on. Am I worth you buying me a cup of coffee today? For the joy of us being able. I mean, where else can you get through an entire Trump speech without vomiting? I'll wait. Maybe his resignation. I'll give you that one. But it hasn't happened yet, and therefore, I'm just saying, that's open. Oh, and Balin just left. All right, thanks. Bye. That's right as I ask. That's stay for the entertainment, leave for the ask. I see. So, thank you, Lipschitz, for the super hearts. You guys are awesome. Going forward, by the way, we'll have a regular show tomorrow as well. And apparently Trump's going to do something from the Rose Garden or the steps. We don't know. It's hard to even. No one can. CNN should split screen the Seattle Occupy with footage from the Bundy standoff for comparison. And the Bundy thing was about them not paying taxes. Exactly. And they were like pointing sniper rifles at cops' heads and shoving women in front of them, hoping the cops would, because the women were armed too, would open fire on the women, and that would give them a pretext. They were like, it was like Gale of Tonkin. Thank you, Philly Dana. Appreciate that for the cup of coffee. I will have a cup of coffee for that. I fasted from Saturday night at 8 o'clock until noon today. Not a bite of food in somewhere in the order of 36 hours, and it was a good time. It was solid. I thought it would be a little harder than it was, but it actually was. Yeah. Well, thanks for becoming a patron, Debbie. Yeah, we have I think we have about 265 now. We're looking for 500 patrons, so join us. A lot of perks that happen when we're back to doing live shows and stuff. I know most of my perks have to do with coming to see me live for free and all that kind of stuff. But those await you, I assure you. And it's nice to be a patron for a few months before you cash in one of those, since a lot of people can even say they zeroed me out. Ended up being cheaper to be a patron for 6 months than to buy a ticket. So there you go. Yes, thanks that cat for reminding me. Take your vitamin D. Make sure you're getting your zinc and also your low dose aspirin. If you're in the 40s and 50s, it'd be a good idea. Just saying. floating that out there. Let's see. I want to grab one more thing. Yeah, we got 5 minutes left. And I'll try and, like I said, the LGBT story today is wonderful. I am so excited about that change. We'll be talking Saturday about that and about the ruling on them not taking up the Second Amendment things, the cases that they talked about. There's like 3 major shifts in this. Now, I always think, man, it's gonna something bad. Like they're giving a bunch of, oh, these are kind of medium level ones, so they can kind of mask the awful coming, probably about workers' rights or unions or those kind of things. So that always worries me. I'm always like, okay, where's the other hand hidden, right? Thank you, Susie S. Thank you for the virtual Sexy Liberal show. Oh, well, absolutely. And by the way, I have a meeting tomorrow about a way to make the Sexy Liberal meet and grope afterwards even better. Yes, Amy, but I don't know how you get them to me because I'm not in LA right now, and that's the address, and that we'll have to figure that part of it out. Always need steaks if they're decent. Sure. That said, I have a meeting with Ron and them tomorrow about on the phone about how we make the meet and grope more personal, not too personal, but I want to make sure it's worth it to everybody, and then it's a lot more like you feel connected. And I think I found a solution that would be really nice for everybody and make it really a more of a special thing or whatever. Geiger 68 I am TYT. Well, then you can go away. The Young Turks are awful, awful people. To the person. They mean the world ill. They don't help the cause. They're more anti-Democrat than they are anti-Republican. They have no consistency in their values or beliefs, and their entire goal is to tighten the race between the Democrat and the Republican, no matter who they are, so it's within a margin of error so the Republican can steal it. They're cretins. They're charlatans. They gouge people for this like tyt.com/go payment system that they have, and then they keep making the same stupid assertions that fall apart under any scrutiny whatsoever. Also, they're race baiters. Also, they're awful. So, other than that, I have no opinion. There. How's that? Why is magnesium important? Well, it helps you absorb calcium, for one. Hal, you and Cameron are welcome to come to the ranch anytime. Oh, well, thank you. We will, yes, TYT is in it for the money and only the money. And there wouldn't be a runoff right now in the California 25 district if Cenk Uygur hadn't spent his entire campaign and $1 million cutting into the Democrat in the lead, who was also a woman, by the way. If he had laid out of that race, she wouldn't have needed to do a runoff this fall. He's a creep. I've met them, they're phonies. It's one thing to know like the what's his name? Like the Miley Yiannopoulos and the Gavin McGinnises of the world and Ben Shapiro. Like those crowd, they're creeps, but they're overt about who they are. There is no difference, in my opinion, between Jimmy Dore, TYT, and Ben Shapiro and Gavin McGinnis in this crowd. They're just two angles. They're the flanking squad that cuts the hamstrings of everybody who's trying to make progress. While Shapiro and those guys are the frontal assault. I just don't buy it. So yeah. And by the way, yes, we have a Discord. A public Discord, and we also have a Discord that's just for patrons. So consider becoming a patron. You can join that and use the Discord and hang out in there. It's a nice hang. Happens after this because when I shut this off now, when I sign out of here, all the chats kind of go away. But you can go there and hang out, and it's a good place to chat and whatnot. Yeah, one-on-one in groups. There's voice chat. There's all kinds of stuff. We'll be doing some video streaming stuff. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to take hydroxyrepublicaline. What do you got to lose? Right. You got nothing to lose but your life and the Republican Party. Thanks, Can't Stop Lying. Yeah, that's the link if you want to join. And I will see you guys later. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Thanks for hanging with me today. I greatly appreciate it. We will be, I'll be on tomorrow at the regular 3 o'clock time. Now, I'm toying with the idea that if he goes on earlier, I might jump in earlier. Let me know if that's okay with you guys. You know, let me know either on Patreon or on the Discord, and I'll think about it. But more than likely, I'll be on at 3, the regular time, Pacific time, and we'll do the whole rundown. Because and the problem is I know it's going to be a longer one there. Oh, Richard Custer's getting a headset. Oh, it's game on then. He's going to be joining the Twitch channel. We're going to be playing. It's going to happen. So, absolutely. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Axe. Absolutely. Thanks, Noel. Why is the Harry Potter author in trouble? It has to do with trans rights and her feelings about this. And I have some very distinct feelings about that. So I'm on the fence about how to deal with this. And luckily today's Supreme Court ruling protects them, especially trans people on a basic legal level. And once people are protected on that level, then you can have more, moral arguments or ethical arguments or various arguments in the grays. Until people have total rights, it's hard to do that sometimes. And so that's another reason why I'm happy about this change. Thank you, Susie S. and Philly Dana and Brian Harmeyer and Onyx Corp. Thanks for following me. That sounds like, are you creating Spider-Man supervillains? I'm just checking. Or are you just OCP? No, that's Occidental Consumer Products or Omni Consumer Products. Thanks, Rob Glenn again. Melinda Campbell. Thank you, Philly Dana. Thank you, Cat Cookie. Thanks, NCIS Doctor Who, for the bits. Krista, thank you so much. And Rebecca Barwig, thank you. And Philly Dana, thank you so much. And Jenny the Cat Whisperer. And Julius, thanks for the super chat. And thanks, Melinda Campbell again. And Templeton Zaretz. Good stuff. Thank you, Scooter. Thank you, Natalie. Always good to see you. Thank you, Lisa Mi Amor. And Georgina Poole, thank you. And Brian Harmer, right out of the gate. Appreciate you guys. We will see you tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Eat something good for you. Support yourself. Give yourself a stretch. Think about an exercise plan. Learn a skill. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I started learning piano. I'm tired of playing by ear. I'm going to learn for real. So I'm using software to learn it because it's 2020. And I will keep you guys abreast. But I'm at level 8 right now. So I'm not quite using 2 hands to read music, but I can read music 1 hand at a time. Hello. Good morning. So I will see you guys later, and I'll keep you guys up to date on that progress as well. Okay. Bye, everybody.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
Who wants some? Who's next?
We're honored to have with us today our amazing Vice President, Mike Pence, and his wonderful wife, Karen.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but 2 things right now. Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
You have nobody guarding your potatoes.
Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
And when you say per capita, there's many per capitas. It's like per capita relative to what?
I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head. He thinks I made it up.
Unbelievable.
Just follow the money.
We need you. Hell, I need you. I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. When this all gets sorted out, I think you and me should get an apartment together. Am I getting fruity?
I never realized how much my
That's great psychology. Why don't you just say something bad about my mother?
Man, I'm tired of being right. Man, I'm tired of being right.
You using the whole piston?
Moon River.
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am.
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
That was really cool, by the way. That was really cool, by the way.